Leadership Institute. My name is Tony Roberts. I'm the Chief Transformation Officer of the Team Builder Leadership Institute. And I want to share with you in this video session a little bit of information to how to make people actually like change. So, let's look at how we do that. Now, we all know that change is not necessarily the favorite thing of people. As a matter of fact, most people don't really like change a whole lot, and most people resist it a whole lot. So, what we want to do is talk about how do you get people in an organization when we have to have change. Let's say that we have to get a new insurance company or things like that. In other words, these are changes that we have to do. We don't have an option. How do we get people to buy into them? So let's look at that. How do we get an organization or how to get organizational buy-in and engagement in the change process? Now, we want to talk about the tools, the techniques that we can use as leaders to produce positive change and results. Examples of change: you got company mergers, takeovers, wage change, structure, new systems, locations, etc. Now, as in all of my video sessions, I always give us the caveat that communication does not happen accidentally. Meaning that in an organization, when you just allow communication to set itself up and people just interact and talk with no standards, no guidelines, you get a lot of negativity. You get a lot of people using negative emotions, things like that. Communication must be planned, and at the Team Builder Leadership Institute, we do that through our professional leadership standard called the Professional Full Spectrum Leadership Certification System. All right, so let's talk about processes. Now, the first thing you do when you have a change, whether it's a merger, somebody took you over, so you have to put the cultures together, whether you have a new salary system that you have to implement, whether you have a new insurance that you have to get, and it may not have the same availability to doctors and things like that. These are the kind of things that people feel strongly about and that upsets them. So the first thing you do is have to make the case for change. Now, the way you do that is you inform everyone in the organization of why the change must occur. Meaning you say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this insurance company as of this day will no longer be able to represent us because of the prohibitive costs in the amount of the insurance. It would go up 75%, and that would be passed along to you. So what we've done is we're now looking for an alternative to this. Now, once you explain it to people, even though they're not going to have the same doctors and things like that, when they realize that the hardship wasn't just going to be on the organization, in other words, when they realize what you're doing is in their best interest as well, well, that's going to soften the blow for the change. Now, will they like it? Depending on how bad the result would be, but they'll definitely support it, and that's what you need. Okay. Now, the next thing you do, once you've informed them of why the change must occur and you made a case for it, so that everybody understands that it's in their best interest to undergo this change, the next thing you want to do is get the engagement and have them feel the change by asking them, okay, so what we would like to do, we have 2 months to find a new insurance company, and we're looking for one with better rates, more comparable to where we're at now, so that the charges will be roughly the same for all the employees. So if any of you have any knowledge of potential insurance companies or things to share, please share that information with us. In other words, you want to ask them to participate in this change. People, when they're standing on the sidelines and they feel they have no control, well, it makes them uncomfortable. But when they feel they have control, it makes them much more comfortable with the change because now they're in the change process. Another thing it does on the back end, when someone is asked to support the change effort and help it, and they can give their input, if they choose not to, then that steals their ability down the road to complain about it because they had the opportunity to participate and they chose not to. So if they were to do that, you can simply say, well, why didn't you participate? And that will pretty much end the conversation. So it is a win-win by getting engagement. Not only do some people have great ideas and contacts that you didn't know about, but also you take away negativity on the back end. Now, so that means that you're going to undergo a PR campaign. You're going to make sure that everybody understands why this change is necessary, why it's not optional. It's not just management deciding to jerk people around and make them unhappy. It's not just about saving money. It's about taking care of the employees, taking care of the organization's best interest, making sure that we all can continue to function effectively. So this PR campaign, meaning you want to use multiple methods for your media. You want to make sure that the message gets to every employee everywhere. Both the message of why this is important and will you please participate. You want to make sure that that PR campaign is thorough and everybody has that option. They know what's going on and they know they have the option to participate. You also want to make sure you have support from all key players and leaders in power positions. All right, so sometimes you have a leader, like let's say you have a procurement department in your organization. Let's say we have an organization and the organization does projects all the time. And all the resources for all the projects come into one procurement location or branch, and that has a manager there in that procurement branch. Now, even though that manager may not be high up in the organization's hierarchy, does he or she have the power to bottleneck projects and get them off schedule and off budget? And of course the answer is yes, he or she does have that power. So there are people that we call key players, and you don't have to be a CEO to be a key player. You can be someone in a position of power that you can actually throw the project or the goal off track just by not supporting it. We need to make sure when we're doing these change processes to be effective and successful that all key players are participating and have bought into the change. You can't have anybody in a position of power not supporting it. Now that also would mean union representatives, the ones who are going to go out and tell the union workers exactly what's going on. They're going to make sure they give them a positive message instead of negative. So we want to make sure that everybody has the power to support the change, is supporting the change, not fighting the change. Okay, and that's part of that PR campaign, having the conversations, give them the option to participate. Some of them you might need to have a one-on-one with just to make sure they understand that this is something that's going to benefit you too. You can participate. Now, it's very necessary that everybody understands how they will benefit from the change. Okay, and by going through this process, by undergoing the PR campaign, asking or informing them of what's going on and asking for their help, it reduces and eliminates stress for people because they know they're moving from something they got to something better, or because you're going to make sure that they know that we're going to come up with a as good as or better alternative if possible. We're going to search high and low, and that's why we're asking for your assistance, because anything you can do to help us help ourselves will be fantastic. So you want to get rid of that angst that people feel and that anxiety people feel when it comes to change. You want to make sure and plan the change so you have small wins. Okay. So what that means is, if you're changing a culture, you're going to a more customer-oriented or people-centric culture. Or let's say two companies are merging and they have totally different cultures, which all companies do. Because most companies don't build their culture, they let it happen naturally, and it just turns chaotic from that point. But what you want to do when you're trying to merge cultures, what you have to do is you have to build commonality, and you have to put in guidelines and standards for the leadership, for the leaders, for the individuals to focus on, and show them that we're coming together. In order to do that, now this can be a long process depending on the size of the organizations, how much resistance there, things of that nature, different variables. Now, so what you do is you build in short-term wins where people can see the change starting to take effect. A lot of culture change efforts and things like that fall by the wayside because they can be long-term and nobody built in short-term wins, meaning there's nothing they can see. There's nothing tangible to say it's working. And then when that happens, a lot of times people give up because they say, well, it's not working. But it actually was working. They just didn't build any wins in so you could see it. You can manifest. It's right there. So you want to build in those steps, those goals, those short-term wins where we can say we're 2/3 into the process, we're 1/3 into the process. This has happened, so you can see clearly we're here in the process. You want to map that out so people can see it, they can feel it, they understand we were here and now we're here. They can feel the change. You also want to create heroes and reward in the change process, meaning when you've mapped this out and you get your buy-in from your key players, some of those key players are going to step up and they're going to, instead of just doing the minimum, they're going to far exceed it and they're going to do great things. You want to create those people as heroes in your company, people to emulate, people you want to thank and reward in public, and then have them Other people say, this is what John did. Because of this, because John did this, the company and you got this, this, and this. Aren't we glad that John did that? As a matter of fact, wouldn't we like to have more John so we can reward them and thank them for their efforts? You want to be very vocal, and you want to create heroes. Now, the Team Building Leadership Institute, we have a program called the Wordsmith, and it's master communication skills for leaders and coaches. Okay, part of that system teaches you communication styles and belief systems. Now, my point is that in certain belief systems, people need heroes to emulate, to understand how what the right thing is and how to go about it. They need heroes. And so a lot of people have that in their belief system, so you want to give them those heroes, those positive, shining examples of what to put forth to also elevate your status. Okay? Now, you want to publicize people who helped and invite everybody else to emulate their behaviors. Again, the heroes, the people, the contributors, you want to reward them and publicize it. Okay? You also want to make everybody understand that we must focus on the change until it is completely achieved. You do not stop. What happens a lot of times with organizations is they'll be in a change process, and as it starts to wind up, they'll just stop focusing. They'll go on to a new project. They'll start pulling people off. And what happens is the change doesn't take. You end up going backward and reverting back to where you were because you killed the process. You got to keep the momentum and focus going all the way through to fruition. You got to have the result. You got to solidify that result. Then you won't have to worry about focus on it because that'll be your new set of habits and paradigm and culture. So you've got to see the change through. Organizational change doesn't have to be a bad thing. As a matter of fact, change can be a very good thing, but to people tend to fear change. So you got to show them it's nothing to be afraid of. It just is what it is, and we're going to make it better for everybody. At the Team Building Leadership Institute, we have the Professional Full Spectrum Leadership Certification, which teaches a leadership standard, a universal set of skills where leaders become dynamic professional leaders, meaning that they know what to do, when to do, how to do it. They have a clearly defined set of expectations, so it makes it easy to evaluate, it makes it easy to comply with. It also builds a wonderful leadership succession program in there because they're constantly being taught, trained, and coached. Now, that program makes leaders that know these skills and makes them extremely professional and effective. As a matter of fact, there's a certification, professional certification for it. Community Dynamics program is it's a program that's all about advanced communication skills, and it's also part of the Wordsmith program, which is the language of master leaders and communicators. And what that does is teaches your communication styles, your belief systems, exactly the words to use, how to use them. It's got videos, audios. It has workbooks. It shows you exactly how to create and achieve goals, how to master emotional control, how to counsel people for performance and change results. It's a very thorough program. You do learn the language of the master leader and communicate with the Wordsmith. And the organizational ecosystem, community dynamics. What we do at TLI is we are able to build a community in the organization where it's harmonious. People come to work smiling. They get everything done, and they leave smiling. That's part of, they also know that change is in their best interest. So they don't resist change as long as you do what this little video is telling you. You get them involved. You build in the short-term wins. You give them the opportunity to participate. It makes it so everybody has the skills because it has 3 different levels of skills. It has the employee skills, communication, it has leadership, and then executive leadership gets what's called the power system. But that makes it so everybody in an organization knows how to communicate positively and effectively with everybody else. So it feels good to be there. It's like going to work with your friends. The organizational ecosystem is where we actually align all the processes and systems, remove all limiting behaviors, so everything done by everybody every day is moving toward the company's goals. So that's what we do at the Team Building Leadership Institute, is we help people create environments where positive change is accepted, where positive behaviors are the norm, where the culture is positive. So if we can help you, please use the information and contact us. I hope you find this information very useful, and thank you for listening.